You know, AGF has had a long history of innovation. If you think about many of the products that we've rolled out, they would tend to be first to market in Canada in our fund company. This is a natural extension of innovating in a space which we think is going to grow pretty dramatically over time. So it really complements our core capabilities within our fund company in a place that I think is going to be relevant and change. So we're an active manager. We believe in actively managed products, and this is just an extension. These are actively managed ETFs. Yeah, AGF IQ is really an umbrella brand that brings together an investment we made in Boston with FFCM, one of the early and leading adopters and manufacturers of ETF and ETF strategies, with our high street quantitative team. Together, when we put them in place, we'll have 21 quantitative professionals, 6 PhDs, who are really on the cutting edge, I think, about factor investing. So AGF IQ becomes really our brand and entry into the ETF space. So today we are launching, basically think of them as two separate components. First are 4 building blocks. We call them enhanced cores, and think of them as regional replications. So in emerging markets, a US, a Canadian, and then a really developed ex-US basket. So 4 enhanced cores, but what makes them different for us is that these are truly multi-factor. Typically, most ETFs in the active space try to get you one factor, either an exposure to momentum, growth, value, size, and those work at different points in time. What we have found is by putting them together into one multi-factor model, marrying them with a risk component or an element to drive to minimize down capture with a return-seeking element, that we actually can drive better outcomes by packaging them that way. So we call them enhanced core. And then we will put those into 3 bundles or solutions. Some of those bundles will have those underlying enhanced cores, and many will have those plus third parties. So they will be truly open architecture bundles, ETFs of ETFs, that bring solutions. So a global equity solution, a balanced, for lack of a better word, solution, and a multi or global income solution. So 3 bundles, open architecture, some of those core enhanced cores, plus other third-party ETFs optimized, again, to provide the best outcome. Yeah, ETFs has been pretty widely reported, probably ended the year about 115 billion in assets. The growth rate there, though, has been pretty significant, probably 25 billion of new flow last year in the ETF space. So we think that that trend continues. We do think the trend, though, starts to change from what has been a traditional passive adoption or replicating certain beta factors to really more active. And actives are growing about 15%. So we think that's where the trend will be as we move into time. Well, the TSX, I think, as you know, was probably the marketplace for the first ETF launched ever. So that's logical too, being Canadian and a Canadian company. I think it's also fair to say that we have an affinity for the TSX. And lastly, we've been listed as a company under the AGF ticker since 1968. So we have a long history with the TSX.